Good morning, everyone. Tractorman 44 here. Hey, this morning I'm up at my son-in-law's house. We just had a nice sausage and bacon breakfast. Can you imagine that? Had a few eggs thrown in there too, you know. But anyway, I'm up at my son-in-law's house. We're going to use his L3301 Kubota with that loader on it. I forgot what loader it is, a LA525 loader. We're going to use that. We're going to transport an old 1930s Patternmakers lathe up here to this new concrete slab we poured this summer. So hang in there for a little bit and we'll take you along for the ride. The old tractor's got 166 hours on it. I was afraid it wasn't going to start for him this morning. I don't know how you guys are at moving large or heavy pieces of equipment. I've done tons of them over the years, and you just have to be slow and methodical and just make sure that you stay as plumb as possible when you're moving this machinery, especially when it's top heavy. So what he's got to do is he's got to pull up that hill and then kind of jimmy jack it just a little bit cantywampus in order to get the back end of the trailer not perfectly square with the concrete slab here, because there's just not enough room physically, but just to get it cocked over this way to where we can be a little closer to level and plumb as we unload. I tell you what, when you're doing this, hydrostatic drive is the berries. I fought stick shift transmission antique tractors, you know. Well, they weren't antique when I was a kid, but they are now. But I've used those stick shift transmissions my whole life, and there's nothing as smooth as what it is when you come to hydrostatics. So let's see how he's going to jack this around a little bit now. We've got to shoot an anchor in the concrete here behind me and put an electric winch on it and drag it down the ramps on those 6x6s with that electric winch. What we did, we backed it in there and jacked it just a little bit, got it halfway square, and elevated the front of the trailer to get the back end as low as possible. Now we've got these ramps here. We're going to go ahead and slide the 6x6s right down the ramps and drop it right on the ground here. We might even gently set it down on a 2x4 instead of letting it drop that whole 3 inches to the ground. So we'll be shooting an anchor into concrete here in a minute and getting ready to hook that up and start dragging it. This lathe takes up to a 24-inch swing and an 8-foot length of material. If that gives you an idea of what the physical size of this is. I tell him all the time it's going to be perfect for him making me cane hook handles for my cane hooks for my sawmill. So what we're going to do, we're going to take and install a drop-in anchor that will remain flush with the concrete, and then install an eye bolt there temporarily to hook the shackle on the electric winch, where we can go ahead and direct the lathe right directly towards the eye bolt. Right, and he's putting the anchor in the ground. We can take a little closer look at this. You can see the backing plate. The backing plate right here, it's roughly, I think that's about probably a 20-inch backing plate, but he has larger ones, and he's also got smaller ones too. But you can see here the step pulleys. This here is metal. These three here are made out of wood, but those actually used to operate off of a flat belt by a line shaft driven by a steam engine or something like that, or some other type of a power unit that sat outside of the carpenter shop or the factory's shop, and then supplied power through a long line shaft through the center of the building, or through the length of the building, and then the flat belts drop down and would be engaged by use of a lever up overhead to put them in and take them out of gear. But if you can take a look, this thing is roughly 13.5 feet long, and the bed, in other words, the distance that you can go from here to the opposite end where the tailstock is 96 inches. So you can put a full 8-foot length of material in there. As you can see up close, you can see the Fay and Egan from Cincinnati, Ohio. Clearly put on the tailstock. And of course it's got all the fancy stuff. I think he's even got a carrier bearing for the center. Look up close on the carriage. You can see it's actually gear driven on this flat gear right here by means of turning a crank to incrementally move it along the x-axis, considering the length of it is the x-axis, and then also you've got the opposing angle up here, which would become the y-axis to take your bit into your wood. So it's very precise, or it can be very precise as compared to freehanding something. So here's, like they say in Hollywood, it's a full frontal, so to speak. But that gives you a rough idea. I believe that's a 16-foot trailer, and it is 13 foot and roughly a ½ inch. So we got this little 110-volt Dayton winch. Came out of W.W. Granger. It's probably 1,000, 1,500 pound winch, I don't know. but it does a real good job. So he shot the anchor in the pool. We got a couple of shackles there, and I fitted this years ago with a 1/4-inch plate. And what we're going to do, simply because it does have a little bit of a pull, and that's wood on wood, it's not wood on metal, we're going to run a double line on that to increase the output of the winch so we don't overload the winch. So we got the strap hooked up. Cable comes up here to a second strap that we got hooked to the shackle and the eye bolt back behind the winch, laying underneath the winch. Got the cable tightened up. All we have to do is break it loose. It's been sitting on a trailer for a while, so it's a little bit stuck, but it ain't no big deal. I'm just going to bump it a little bit. I'm at a 1-part line now. We got to re-rig if we want a 2-part line. Or we can pull the trailer out from under it and use the tractor to shift it in the rest of the way. Because I'm at a 1-part line right now. But let me just go ahead and go. I got another 3 feet I can go. One more time. I got 12 inches. That's it, right there. I can't go no more. So we got it to the rear end. Now we're going to just drive the trailer out from underneath it because I'm out of line up here on the winch. And then we're going to disconnect the winch and push it around with the tractor. Put that piece of PVC and put that under here.
Just to keep it from slamming down?
Yeah, I was going to throw a 2x4 there too, yes.
That's right, yeah.
We just built this little addition on there this summer. I've got made a video of us doing all the concrete forms for the footings and the knee wall, and then also pouring the slab. Just never got it produced yet or put up on the internet, but that'll be coming one of these days. But you can see this was made specifically for access of this old lathe, and eventually these walls are all going to be blocked in. But hey, it's going to fit perfectly. I think he's going to be happy. Now he's got the 4-pulley flat belt pulley jack shaft that mounts up above that would actually be driven by the line shaft, and he's considering seriously of installing that up above there, but then putting a large horsepower, a large capacity motor, and then operate that motor off the VFD instead of actually changing speeds with a flat belt. But he is definitely considering operating this with a flat belt, just like days of old. So at any rate, this is just a quick little video on a Sunday morning. Just helping the son-in-law get this thing off his trailer. We had it on the trailer to pour this concrete and all that stuff. And so concrete, of course, is nice and hard now, so it's time to get it off the trailer so we can use the trailer. Put this thing in here, you know, out of the weather, and get it in its final resting spot. So you know what? This is Trackman 44, and I am out of here.